गुरुर्मूर्ति पूजामूलं गुरुपदम् मन्त्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यम् मोक्षमूलं गुरुर्कृपा ॐ श्री गुरवे नमः।
We'll tackle them by exposing them to the realities of history, culture of this country, through video tapes and things like that. We'll buy some more literature, video tapes and things like that, and then for this we need only a kind of a shed. The stress is on love of the motherland, respect for the heritage, understanding of the culture. Without understanding what is culture, everybody uses. In fact, in Delhi there are 1,000 people always flitting around the country to country and taking some money from the human resources country department and influencing this one and they are known as culture vultures. There is a big community about it. Everybody would like to take a dance book to Europe. That's all about it. This has been going on for 50, 60 years. And they take about 10 lakhs from the government. And that's not what I mean. So, suppose we invite a great scholar in music, ask him to address the students and the teachers about the music, take them a few classes. How to understand music, how to understand dance, even that's in education. All people are not supposed to be dancing all the time. They should understand the education about our fine arts. Somebody would address them on music, teachers, and the selected students, about 30, 40. We'll give them free lunch, kind of transport, dropping them again. If they are coming from outside, it's all right. We'll give them accommodation for 2 days, 3 days. Exposure to art. This is one thing. Somebody else will address them on important aspects of our history. Like this, only talks. In other words, it will be talks. That then a reading room on those subjects will be provided for those few days. Give them food, accommodation. Whether if it's not more than 25, 30 people at a time, one batch. So I propose that, in fact, there was a body elected at that time, and most all of them have resigned, and a new body has to be formed. There is nothing very strictly law involving about it. It's only a group of friends gathering together and no involvement, no commitment of any kind. The two friends will gather and then start the work. For that reason, we chose a few members. For this much of activity to be undertaken on that land, we don't want any objections to be raised. Or if the collector is to be addressed to regularize the whole thing, if it is feasible, if he can help us by promising to address the government and get the orders, Rambabu garu alanti varu will help chestamante. If you think with at least 75% confident, we will go ahead with it. Nobody can guarantee 100%, that's not feasible. But what is the percentage risk factor in it? But then we are sure to lose it from our hands today.
So last time I had an opportunity to talk to the secretary. Last time Harman location market
inside the hall. Where possible, at least one tour regularly. It should be possible. All these things are not. Somebody is there. ఒక పెద్ద మనిషి వచ్చి నేను ఖర్చు పెడతాను మీరు వాడుకోండి అంటే మనకి చేత కాకపోతే అది చాలా ఇన్సల్ట్ కదా మనకి. నేను ల్యాండ్ ఇస్తాను ఖర్చు పెడతాను మీరు వాడుకోలేదు అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇట్ బికమ్ ఏ ఛాలెంజ్. ఐ నాట్ ఏబుల్ టు స్లీప్ ఇన్ పీస్. సంథింగ్ నౌ వీఆర్ compelled to do something. Hitherto, the non-availability of the funds, land and all that is very, very convenient excuse. I could not do this, I would have done that, I would have done that. ఇలాంటివన్నీ ఇబ్బందులు అవే గ్రహస్థితి వల్ల వస్తాయి. ఒక మాట ఇలాంటి శని వాటి వల్ల ఇలాంటివి వస్తాయి ఛాలెంజెస్. కాబట్టి ఏదైనా చేద్దామని నా అభిప్రాయం. విల్ డూ సంథింగ్, విల్ ఇనాగ్రేట్ ది construction of the school and just open playground 1 acre వాళ్ళకి వదిలి పెడతాం. Rest of it will be landscape, will be started now that the rains are ahead of us. So we'll landscaping and garden, some rare flowers, మంచి flowers plants and వాళ్ళనే ఇన్వాల్వ్ చేసేసి పని చేయండి అని చెప్పేద్దాం. So when they are around, one has to discharge his debts to this world in some form or the other, whatever be the resources God has given you in whatever form. That is something I believe people are forgetting about. They are paying too much attention on their own personal matters. With the result that they are not able to think of what they owe to the others, to the country, to the society. One important aspect of reaching, one important steps that lead us to the God is redemption, is repayment of debts to society. God is giving always some opportunity other to everyone to do this. If a man is able to keep his eyes and ears open, he can easily notice where and when the opportunity is coming across. The opportunity that is utilized in the very first instance pleases God. God has no attitude towards anyone, any individual. He has no attitude even to the whole world as it is. But you can create his attitude to you. That is known as the tapas, that is known as the prayer, that is known as the approach to God. Each man can create an attitude of the God towards him. Rakshas have created a particular attitude of the God towards them. Devotees have created a God's attitude towards them. It's like a pound of water. You can throw a stone, disturb it. You can create anything. So God's grace can be invoked unto oneself and also unto the whole world as it is. Those who invoke the God's grace for the good of the society, good of the people who are not related to you in any manner, in whom you have no interest except as a well-wisher, commoner. If you invoke God's grace for their sake, it pleases God. You don't have to ask for anything for yourself. Your welfare is included in it, number one. Secondly, one does not have to do any physical or any kind of material service to anybody. Even wishing well to the society is tapas. If you pray to him every day for a minute, God, take care of this humanity as it is. People are criminal minded, ignorant, innocent. And there is one kind of people who cause suffering to the others, and the other kind are taking the suffering. Neutralize them. Don't have to destroy them. I invoke your grace first on the wrong type of people, the criminals, the wrong people, who derive a pleasure in causing suffering. All that is ignorance, ahankar, selfishness. All are born out of ignorance. Wake them up from their deep sleep. See that they wake up from their deep, irresponsible sleep. Let them know what they are doing, what it means to themselves in a future date. If they can understand what it is giving them in return. That will be a great saving. They are saved first. Others are saved from their evil today. So it's not necessary that there should be so much of evil and wrong. Even this is a very great prayer. It redeems your debt. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Even a prayer to the God for the good of the humanity. In fact, it is a very, very rare way, difficult way of repaying your debt to the society. People don't have that easy method of doing it, attitude to do it. It's not easy. The great sages, Maharshis, only did this. And then when they left this world, they left all their tapas behind on this earth. For the benefit of those who follow their path, that tapas, that devotion, that this tapas yield results to them. Let them be benefited, like property bequeathed in favor of those who seek God in their line, in that path. Which is why they are still there, very much alive. Without those physical bodies, they are very much alive, watchful. They are pleased when this is done. This tapas that they have left behind goes as a property to those people who are well-wishers to the mankind, like them. Their path, what is their path? Not wishing well, because what they have done is their path. If you do it, you belong to their family. You are his descendant. So you claim it. Tapas you don't have to perform. I can say you don't have to perform tapas and earn tapas for yourself. There is plenty of it. Claim it. Following the path. Take it. They are your saviors. In fact, God is not a direct savior to you. Rishis, Maharshis, sages are your saviors. They are your benefactors. If our forefathers had gone, left this world, what we can do for them? Suppose they had not done enough for themselves. One way of helping them is to pray to these rishis. My fathers, my grandfathers, great-grandfathers, let them be taken care of by you. This is my prayer. They are more than pleased to do this. And even in this process, the sins are washed. Sins are pardoned. A pardoned sin is not as though justice, punishment is dropped. It is washed off. So there are two things. A sin is committed, there is a punishment that follows. The pardoning means only punishment is not given. But yet, the sin that has been pardoned and that went without punishment stands as an obstacle in the way to reach the God. It's an impurity. Which is why all wise men sought punishment for purification. I don't want pardon. Punish me so that I am washed and cleansed. That has been their attitude. So when the rishis pardon, who is the pardoning authority here? Dharma Devata. He can pardon. But that Dharma Devata has left you without any punishment. But the path to the God ultimately is that throws an obstacle. If your rishis pardon you, that obstacle is removed. Dharma Devata is the administrator who administers punishment. He can pardon. When the rishis pardon, it is cleansed totally. Because the rishis are interested in your evolution, in your reaching the God, not in your physical happiness, material happiness on the earth. It's a byproduct. Once they give you anything, it follows. Nachiketa tells the God of Yama, I don't have to seek boons from you for material welfare on the earth. Since I have had your darshan, that is more than enough. When I go back, I shall enjoy all the wealth. I shall automatically wealth comes to serve me. I shall have all that a lucky person, a fortunate person does have on the earth. I'm going to have all that. That's not a boon that you can give. Give me the secret of the afterlife. That is what he says. So in other words, today all good people, all wise people should pray to the God for a minute every day to give a wake-up call to those struggling in ignorance, causing suffering to the others, directly or indirectly. In this process, our forefathers are elevated. Because your punyam is so great that you are seeking the welfare of the mankind. There is so much enormous punyam that, because even the king, suppose distributes all his wealth to the poor, it's infinitesimally small when compared to this prayer. He's seeking the God, that's a treasury that can never be exhausted. He's distributing that too. It belongs to the God who does not use it. Therefore, what belongs to God is belonging to the people, to the souls. Whether the soul is in the tiger's body or a sage's body, it doesn't matter. To one and all. Those who tap that source are giving enormous, unlimited help to those. In this process, when you are asking for the gods, you are requesting the God to wake up the people from their deep slumber of ignorance. What you are doing is, you are clearing the path of those souls to the God also, which the God does not do on his own. So in a way, you are paving the path to reach. They would never otherwise normally do it on their own. You are asking, you are giving something to the people which they are not capable of asking for themselves. That is exactly why it is a treasure. It's invaluable, which cannot be weighed in gold. Asking for the welfare of the mankind is secret. Welfare of the mankind is sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. It's all right. Everybody says this. But then this is said after a small ritual, a puja, sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. But at the same time, he starts the puja with a sankalpa for his own welfare. Gotram, putra botra vriddhirastu. All these things are sankalpas are there. For this reason, this is an empty wish when he says it. He doesn't mean it, he is not thinking of it. He is saying it. That has been the tradition to say it, therefore he says it. A parrot like. Here is a prayer. Parrot only uses a language without a thought. That's called parrot. Here your thought is more powerful without a language. Doesn't have to have a language at all. So when you pray, you are bringing down God. Why did the avatars come? Is it not on account of the prayer of the gods and the great rishis and sages who are the well-wishers of mankind? On account of their prayers, the God came down as an avatar. Not otherwise. On his own, he never came down. God has no attitude, I said. An attitude has to be created. The air has no direction. It moves all around. You put up a fan here. You created a direction. Like that. In this reason, this prayer, you have redeemed your debt to thee. Because in praying for his grace on the evil-minded people by waking them up, you have reduced their sin that is planned for future by them. You have also saved those people from the suffering it causes from this sin. Two ways. So no wise man prays for the good people. Prayer for the bad man. For a reform. Prayer for a reform is the greatest thing. So all great sages did this.
Sarve Sujana Sukhino Bhavantu.
That is right. Sarve Sujana Sukhino Bhavantu. Let all good people be happy. Then the other half of my prayer is Sarve Jana Sujano Bhavantu. Let all people become good people. I split it into two sentences. First sentence is, let all good people be happy. Let all people be good people. In one breath I would like to say this. The second half is for those evil people who are not good today. Let them become good. So whenever an evil a Rakshasa or Asuri Sampatti has been destroyed by God, he was saved from committing further sins and earning a permanent hell for himself. It's grace. Left to himself. Okay, suffering at his hands for the others is one thing, but he is creating a permanent place for himself in the hell. He is ruining his future forever. That has been saved by the God. So God destroys on the prayer of somebody. So, in other words, what was their prayer? Destroy the evil? No, that is, although the wording is like that, save him from himself for future. You are asking the God to save him from his own evil for his future and save the others from him today, at present. So present and future are involved in it. That's the logic in it. That's what we do in the yajna every time. We perform some yajna. What is yajna? What is it meant for? We recite some mantras. The Swahakaram is destruction of the evil. It sounds like that. But the Sankalpa is destruction of the evil mind in him. An evil man minus his evil mind is your friend. That's all. But he is saved from him. So that way, most of the mantras are meant to reduce the evil in this society. Evil is by ignorance. Ignorance can always be wiped out by awakening. It's a wake-up call they need. Wake-up call is only possible when the God speaks from within themselves. They don't listen to a powerful mic. They don't listen to a telephone call. The call is from within themselves. It takes only a bat of a lid, eye lid. They can change. Many people, that has been the specialty of this Indian culture. This is the only country where many evil-minded people made a U-turn overnight. Suddenly they changed. They became sages. In the story of other cultures, you don't find evil people turning to sages. It is a specialty about this country. Many, hundreds of instances are there. They were evil. But who? Why did they wake up overnight? Suddenly what happened? Seemingly there is an incident. Something happened, so that no, that incident is not capable of changing. Grace of the God, prayer of somebody. His forefathers in the other world might have prayed for him. So that awakening takes place and then they change their path. That's the specialty of this country. So somebody asked me, sir, there are bad people in Hinduism. Why not? I said, certainly. There are very great sinners in Hinduism, criminals in Hinduism. And what is so special about Hinduism? There are criminals in every religion. I said, I believe, it's my belief. You may accept it or not. I believe, being a Hindu, at one time or the other, even in his childhood, his mother would have carried him to a temple. Sometime he would have received some blessing of somebody. That will work. Throughout his evil life, he forgets what is important for himself. But at least the last breath of his moment, last momentum, when he is leaving this body, leaving this world, he will look at himself. Look at his own black picture. And then the self awakens. The conscience awakens to pray for pardon. He regrets. In the regret itself, half the sin is washed, and the other half is taken in the next birth for physically going through it, but with a wisdom. This prayer has that effect. Last minute prayer. So he becomes a good man and suffers. We see many good people suffering. Why? He is a very nice man, very good man. Unfortunately, everything goes against him. He goes on suffering and nobody helps him. He doesn't receive a word of sympathy from anyone. He's a good man, he's a good man. Repeatedly we say he's a good man suffering. We find many people. It's because they committed this sin, regretted in the last minute. They didn't want to continue to be bad in the next month. So God made them good, made them go through the result of their sins, cleansed them, took them onto His path. This happens in this country. No sinner has left this world without a regret. That's my belief. No sinner born in this land, in this culture, who believed in this heritage and culture, not even one of them has left this world without a regret. And regret is everything that matters. All that matters. All that matters. Otherwise, why should a good man go on suffering? I am a good man, then I am suffering. But today I am good. I was not. He understands. And you know what is the proof? When a man suffers that he prayed for being a good man. What's the proof? A man who suffers sometimes, he need not be a good man. He goes to the wrong path to alleviate his suffering. To find a way out of his suffering, he goes to the wrong side of the moral. He commits sin to get out of his difficulties. This man does not. That's the proof. Suppose he is suffering in poverty, ask him to, why don't you steal? I say, I will make all arrangements. See that the man is asking, you go and steal. I will see that I will take them away to a cinema in the second show, you go and steal. Tell him, he won't do it. You cannot administer a bad advice to him. He may be suffering. But the other man does not need an advice. Even when he is prosperous. This is the way in which how we are born in this society. We should understand this. It's very interesting. It's all interesting out there. Sometime or other, every sinner has looked at himself. He is not prepared to admit it before others. But his conscience is one thing. What is conscience? I said I defined in one of these articles. Conscience is the judge. The same conscience plays the role of the prosecutor. Same conscience plays the role of the defendant, defending lawyer, defending counsel. The same conscience stands in the dock. He plays 4 roles. Conscience is in the dock, being accused, the accused. His conscience only, he is accused. Conscience is the judge. Conscience is defendant. No, I was in poverty, I didn't mean it. I would have been already if I had no poverty. All this, the defendant lawyer goes on. No, in spite the prosecutor said, in spite of poverty, whatever be the provocation, crime is a crime. Lord, I want the accused to be punished. So, 4 roles the conscience plays. This is how it is. And ultimately, conscience does not let him free. Conscience is the most powerful judge, most powerful prosecutor, most powerful, helpless at the same time, dependent. It rolls. It happens.
You always used to call it the watchdog.
Conscience is the watchdog. Who can escape from the conscience? Even Ravana did not escape from his conscience. He was fully aware that he committed the wrong. And if a king committed a wrong, the country suffers. If a man commits a wrong, a householder, head of a family commits something wrong, family suffers. As an individual, if he commits something wrong, he commits a sin, you should take this stand. I alone shall suffer, not my partners. So the very secret of the question that was put to Valmiki by Narada. All right, you are a robber, highway robber, but you are committing this sin. You say you have to feed your wife and children, but do they share this sin? Very subtle question, it's not a simple question. as it appears to be on the face of it. He went and found out that they are not prepared to share it. The result of the sin is not shared by Israel. Sir. It's your duty to feed us. Beg, borrow, or steal. It's your duty to feed us. Why should we take a part of your sins? No. Then he said, all right, I have committed this sin because I wanted to feed my wife and children. Sin is entirely mine. So then, an eye-opener. That is why when a man takes to sannyas, when he takes to sannyas, he is all alone. He has no relatives, no friends, no parents, no brothers, no sisters, no wife, no children, no friends, no enemies. That is sannyas. That is a status in which he suffers the sins committed by him, good or bad, alone, without relationship. That is sannyas. Sannyas is declaring oneself to be totally alone. I am not related to anybody. That is called sannyas. Sannyasi cannot claim to be related with you. I am the son of so-and-so. He cannot say. So-and-so is my wife. He cannot say. He can't even say she was my wife. He is going back into his previous status.
So this is sin he suffers. Punyam also he enjoys alone.
Very alone. Totally alone. But even the karma is left behind. Theoretically. But if he has not consciously left his karma also, he suffers. To be alone is sannyas. He doesn't belong to anyone. He doesn't belong to anyone. No one belongs to him. And therefore nothing belongs to him. The man is suffering anything in this world because of his sense of belonging to this country, the society, the husband, wife, children, parents. So it is samishti karma, known as the combined karma is enjoyed by people, good and bad. So one who has taken to sannyas deliberately with all his mind, he has no karma. Jatram may indicate Sade Sati, this and that. Nothing touches him. Planets go and circumambulate around him, leave. They can't touch him. Even a sannyasi is not really left behind with his mind. Ultimately one has to say, Naham deho ne indriyani antarako. I am not my conscience, I am not my mind, I am not my body, I am not my senses. Pratyagatma Sivoham, Sivoham, I am Sivoham. When that is said, where is the karma? Karma is there. Pratyagatma, I am the reflection of the Paramatma. It is reflecting in this body. Paramatma is reflecting. Like in a pot of water, sun is reflecting. That is the attitude. We all of us can do this much to wash our karma. Really, whether you can give, you don't have to give. What you cannot give, it doesn't matter. But 1,000 times more powerful than parting with all your wealth in favor of poor people here and there. Much more than that, this is more powerful. Because your wealth is limited, it's a small, a pinch of sand that you have. Here you are offering the entire coast. So all that those who need, everything. That's why when I say go see the sea, let the sea be ocean be graceful, kind to all the living creatures on the coastline. Let this great ocean not find an occasion to hurt anyone. Let people live. Let all the fish inside live freely. Let them not be caught in the nets. Let those people who are laying the nets find food elsewhere. Let them not need it. Even this prayer is gives you satisfaction. There is somebody who listens. Yes. He has no address because he is all pervading. There is no place. He listens. There is some listen. The listener is there. He is just not a listener.